Hello everyone, this is Menz here. I'm going to be playing and also reviewing the T26E5 new premium tier 8 US heavy tank. Now, this version, it's the, I guess, Patriot version, what you can call it, has the special camouflage, but they're also selling the one without the camouflage. Really, the only difference is the paint job. It doesn't have any different stats or whatnot, but you get a special paint job. You don't have to put camo on it. Now, the T26E5, it's kind of, to say, a mesh between a Persian and a T32. Now, statistically, like I'm comparing it, I'm going to be comparing it to the T34 and also the T32 since it is a tier 8 heavy tank. But essentially, the gist of this tank is kind of take the T32's armor in a way and then give it the M26's mobility and also its gun. Basically, less alpha damage, more penetration, and more DPM. But, you know, it's kind of a mash between the two. And it actually plays pretty well. It does see tier 10s being a new premium tank, but essentially playing this, you're going to feel like you're playing essentially an up armored M26 Persian, or say a faster super Persian, something like that. Essentially, starting with just basic statistics. HP wise, you have 1500 HP. That's really the same as the T34, but at the same time, 50 less than the T32. Now, in this match, really, there's not too many ways to exploit the hold down position in this moving into the town, but essentially the gun on this, you know, it's all around solid, so I kind of play it like a medium tank, almost more so than a heavy. Like I played it, you know, several matches here before doing this review, but it is very reminiscent to the M26 Persian in a lot of ways. Now, damage-wise, compared to the T34, it does not stand up, and even the T32, damage per shot. It only has 240 damage for each shell, which, you know, is a tad bit low for a tier 8 heavy, which is why it does really relate to, say, the M26 Persian. Now, even though it has 240 damage compared to the 320 on the T32 and 400 on the T34, it does have the most amount of damage per minute. Just its base DPM is 2000 even, compared to 1811 for the T32 and only 1600 for the T34, so it does have the DPM over them, which, taking that into account, even though it has a higher DPM, it basically means you're not going to want to brawl in this tank if you're facing tanks, you know, with higher alpha, or that you can't bounce reliably off of it because their higher alpha damage, like the T34, almost has nearly double the damage per shot. It's heavily weighted towards them in a brawl. So keeping that in mind in this tank, it's more, you know, of a mid-range fighter than later on kind of poke and take your chances. Now I'm taking some shots here. Essentially the armor on this, related to the T32, just slightly weaker across most of the tank as far as the armor goes. But it's definitely a huge upgrade, say, compared to M26 Persian, because armor-wise, it's stronger in a couple areas in the T32 and just a pinch weaker in, you know, the turret, lower glacis, stuff like that. Now, penetration, extremely good for this tank. It has an APCR shell for a standard round, very good velocity. Don't forget about that. And also a premium APCR shell that you don't really need all that much, honestly. Your standard pen is 230, and your premium is 259. Now, that's a freaking gigantic upgrade over, you know, the T32 that only has 198, and 245 for the premium shell. So this tank is going to rake in money because you're going to be firing mainly standard. Now, in this match, there was just no winning this. I was trying my best, the hold up my side, and there's just came a point where the enemy gets pushed up. So, and then comparing it to the T-34, it does have worse penetration than that. Of course, that's kind of the T-34's strong point. It has 18 less pen on the standard round, and T-34 is 297 pen on APCR compared to 259 for the T26E5 here. Now, just recapping this match, because I will be doing 2 replays here since this is a review. Pretty much I got myself into trouble. Once they start closing in on me, that's when you saw me racking up a lot of damage. And that's kind of the weakness of this tank, is close up you falter a little bit with the lack of damage. So, but I'm just gonna pause this here, that way I can hop over to the end game screens here. It is a defeat, of course. I get a Mastery Badge 2nd class, high caliber award though. Moving on to the second screen, 3,200 damage isn't shabby for a tier 8. Especially with, the low alpha damage. But this thing does do very good damage. Don't let, the accuracy, which I haven't gotten to yet, kind of turn you off from it. And then the final screen, I made a profit. This is, a loss. I didn't have a credit boost going on, but I do have Courageous Resistance. That adds 11,000, but I make a 95,000 profit because the shells on this thing are pretty damn cheap, and you don't need that much APCR. Like, I carry 11, just because you're not going to go through, I think it's like 55 AP I carry, because the slight boost in pen does help when you're against a lot of 10s, but getting on to 10s later on. And outside of that, I guess block a little bit of damage, because most of the shots I took were side shots, and that really did me in, and just a little bit of assist damage there. Now I'm gonna pull up my second replay here, get things going. Now, moving on to more stats for this though, like, I'm not saying it's a perfect tank, but it is a pretty damn good tier 8 premium. Wargaming's kind of shifted to where I would say that this is, not to say it's straight up better than the T-32, but it kind of is in most situations, which it's a little bit sad that it's, that I can say that, because this is a premium tank, but the penetration really helps us out. Now here, different map, of course, a little bit more hold down play on this map. But going into more stats, accuracy-wise, 0.38 accuracy, pinch on the low end, but better than the T-32, which has 0.41, but worse than the T-34 at 0.35. Aiming time, 2.3, same as the T-32, better than the T-34 by a long shot, 3.4 on that. And as far as its mobility, essentially, I relate this, it feels almost identical to a T-26, or no, M26 Persian. Wrong tank there. But it feels, virtually identical to a Persian. There is minor differences, like I believe the top speed on this is lower than it, but essentially you're going to feel at home if you, have driven a Persian or like the Persian. Now, armor-wise on the T26E5, getting to that, like I was saying, it's a little bit weaker than both the T-34 and also the T-32 as far as its mantlet and armor goes. Its mantlet is anywhere from 279 to about 295 millimeters of effective armor, right in the center where there's no additional armor behind the mantlet. So some tanks can penetrate you, tier 9s and 10s. It's going to be rare, but it's still worse than the T-32 and T-34 in that regard, which, are virtually immune outside of like tier 10 tank destroyers. Let me just, whoops, I don't want to zoom in there. But I'm going to be hold down here, because really that's the strength of this tank. And it's going to be plinking away here. The top hatch on it is the weakest of the bunch. It's pretty strong, but it does have a flat part, about 182 millimeters of effective armor, and some parts of it drop down on the angle bits to 205. So it is weaker than the T32s and especially the T34s, which are very hard to pen. Upper hull though is actually a pinch better, I would say, than the T32. It's, you know, a long shot better than the T34s, but it just barely beats the T32s out. It has some thicker bits, but it's 219 millimeters of effective armor, and there's a couple spots like 226 millimeters of effective armor. So it has a pretty good upper hull, especially if you're hull down, where you add a little bit of horizontal angle to it. Lower glacis though is a pinch weaker than the T32s, still better than the T34 at 173 millimeters of effective armor. So really armor wise, it's, you know, on par with the T32, just slightly weaker, and you also have to take into account you can get penetrated on the flat bits here. They're definitely weak compared to the T32. It's more reminiscent of a T34 or a Pershing in that matter, where if somewhere hits, something hits that flat bit next to the mantlet, it will penetrate you if you're facing, you know, a strong tier 8, tier 9, tier 10. But anyway, playing this match here, I'm really just kind of sticking around on the hill here, just trying to get some spots off. I don't have, you know, my vision set up here, which kind of hurts me because I can't spot. There's a VK up here. What is it? Yeah, VK 4503. Now optics, I played around with vents, vertical stabilizer, and a gun, you know, gun length or gun ram or whatever for reload. I think I'm gonna switch because the gun handling, the overall accuracy, you know, isn't the best. But gun handling is good enough with a vert stabilizer, and the DPM is good enough. I think I'm going to run optics because, you know, you're going to play this further back, kind of hold down a lot of times. I think the view range will be better on this. But this tank, I've wanted this ever since I started seeing kind of stats leaked for it, because really it takes the best of the M26 Pershing and the best of the T32 and kind of mashes them together, and it's pretty much what the T32 should be, in my opinion. It should have a high penetrating 90 millimeter. It pretty much feels like that tank. I believe historically, could be wrong here, the T32 was kind of planned to have a 90 millimeter on it, but who exactly knows? But anyway, this tank, if you're looking for a tier 8 premium American tank, even though it's a heavy, it plays like the Pershing and the higher tier American mediums with a lot more armor on it, and really it's a fun tank to play. When you're against tier 10s, it has enough penetration with its normal round, and you know, they're dirt cheap to where you're still going to be able to damage tier 10s, and it's not going to be like playing the T32 where you kind of feel helpless and you're like chucking HE at them sometimes because your APCR is not accurate enough. This tank has just enough accuracy and just enough penetration where you never feel helpless in this tank. And really, it's a great tank because it rewards, you know, exploiting its strengths, but it also has a lot of forgiveness in it, to where it's not going to punish, say, if you're a newer player, because it, you know, it allows you to grow with it, but it's not like it doesn't have any gun depression or anything. It's very easy to play. But anyway, that match is over. Moving on to these matches here. Again, Mastery Badge second class here. Decent win, good amount of credits. Second screen here, most amount of damage again. Honestly, I played, I forget how many battles, like 5 or 6 to grab these replays here. But every time they were all tier 8 matches or tier 10 matches. There was none really in between. Every time I was tier 8 match, I pretty much got top damage or top 3 damage by a pretty good margin. Tier 10 match, I was, you know, middle ground. They weren't exactly the best matches, which is why you haven't seen them. and by best I mean they're kind of boring. I won them all, but didn't really have opportunities to really showcase the tank. Now, in those matches, less damage, but you still never felt like you're useless. Now, final screen here, again, pretty good profit, 86,000 credits, a little bit of assist, a little bit of armor block, but really this thing makes a ton of money because it doesn't need premium shells that much, and it does do very good damage if you play to its strengths. Now, the last thing I'm talking about, just showcasing these two matches, it's top tier. You're probably wondering why, how is this going to do against tier 9s and 10s? Essentially, against them, it's armor. If you play hold down, it's going to be, if you've played the T32 or M26 Pershing, it's just enough for you to kind of, be able to, essentially, your armor's just enough at long range to block most shots. People start throwing premium rounds or even tier 10 TD. Its turret is weak enough compared to the T32 that you're going to be struggling a little bit, I would say, to bounce shots off your turret. The armor is just that much, that little difference between the two tanks. It's like playing an M26 Persian. You will get penetrated in the turret in higher tier matches. Not every time, but enough to make you wary. And then really the low damage per shot in tier 10 matches, you do have to definitely play a little bit more conservative, but at the same time, it's still a better tank than, say, the T32, I would say, which for a premium tank, very good. It seems like Wargaming's kind of trending that way, but I would definitely take this over a T32 in most cases in public matches. It's definitely the more reliable tank, but just know, since it does see 9s and 10s, that where you're going to be facing them, that you do have to play a little bit safer, because your low damage per shot and your armor, while it does hold up well, only 1500 HP, 750 damage hit, there goes half your HP. But anyway, thanks for watching this video. Hopefully you enjoyed these couple matches, and this helps you out a little bit if you're looking at getting this tank. I would definitely say, if you like American tanks, this is a very good tank to pick up, especially with heavies. Crew training wise, just keeping in mind with that, it does fit high tier American crews. It'll fit your E5 crew, the M103, but as you get down to the T29, T32, the M6, T1, you are going to have a couple crew members that won't fit in at the same time. That might be a problem for you. Say a tank like the T34, much larger, that'll fit everybody. This tank, does lack that one extra crew spot for that. But anyway, thanks again for watching this video. Feel free to check out my live stream. I live stream here on YouTube, at least 4 times a week, most weeks, some weeks, down to 3. But feel free to check out my other videos and my website, wackguru.com. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you around, hopefully.